Hello viewers, today's session we will start working with form logic and frameworks, and so far we have covered user interface elements, and if you have not followed them up, please do watch the videos in previous sessions. And from today onwards we will be writing basically the code. Normally that will be the handling code, and this is very important thing that especially the placement of the code is very important for developer or a programmer. Code placement is not only critical to maintainable to make it maintainable or even extendable solution, because if it is not flexible to extend, then the next developer or next programmer would not be able to use it. Rather it will condemn it and create another classes or table methods or something. It should be very much extendable and also maintainable. So also it should be very clear and precise. And if there is a task which you can do in a single line of code, so you should not spend 10 line of codes, or for example 5 line of codes. That is very inefficient way. So being a critic of your own code is, you are the best judge how that code would perform well, because normally I have seen the reports where there is so many looping, while loop, and because of that round trips definitely increase, and end user cannot see report if the parameters or filters are too heavy, means date range is almost a year or more than a year. So that will go on and on in infinite time, or more time. It will take maybe half an hour or hour, which is useless. So instead of looping, you can use set based operation, which is also recommended from Microsoft, and it will decrease the round trips. So similarly, the code placement is also very important, and you can see that the code can be written on form level as well as on a class level or on a table level. So the best placement is that it should be at a very lower level. So instead of writing everything on form level, it should go either table method level or a class level. So and also this is one of the thing that if you write every code on the form level, so it cannot be reused. Instead, if you put the code on table method level or class level, that could be reused again and again. So but a table method level should be only when it is related with the data. Otherwise, if it is a common business logic, so it should go to the class level. So these are different principles, or SOPs, or you can say best practices, which you are the best judge how you can make your code more efficient, so that end user basically enjoys using your functionality, introduced functionality or extended functionality. So also the for example, if we are hiding a button, and data validation, other data specific code logic usually then belong to a table. And if the code on a form level or table level gets more complex, so it should move to the class level. So there can be an example of a sales table, and if I can show you, uh, one of the example is, the sales table contains the header of sales order, and sales line contains the lines of sales order, and there are basically classes. So the this is the sales table type class, which is basically handling different types of sales documents, and similarly sales line type is also used to handle the lines of sales line table. So these are various classes which are handling basically the table events are handled by these classes. Similarly, you can find other like purge table type and purge line type uh, on the same pattern. So this is sales line type, and similarly this is handling the table line level sales line level handling. And similarly table, these are basically table event are handled in these classes. Similarly, if you can see, there is a class called sales table form, and this is a handling class for the form. So it is sometimes called also helper class or handling class form, which handles the form logic basically. So similar pattern we can also follow. And there are then child classes which are basically inherited from the parent class. So in this way, and when there is a different document type, so this similar child class, the common functionality is put in the on the parent class, and the different functionality or behavior is or methods are placed on the child level. So this is how this is already implemented. So we will be just starting with creating a table handler class, and then in the next session which I will follow, where we will be definitely writing a form handler class. And also we have missed a number sequence logic in our resort management system, so that also we need to follow, but that will be in coming sessions. So just to start with, we will create a table handler class. So what we can do is just right click on your project and add a new item, and in this one just select the code and give it a name. And to keep it consistent, just prefix whatever you have put your prefix. I have put pkr underscore and then resort. So then we have created, if you remember, the resort booking table and booking line. So what we can do is we will just create resort booking table type in order to handle the booking table events. So, this is our definition in workspace. So what we can do is just we need to declare our table, which is resort booking table, and I will name it like booking table as a variable or a buffer. And we also need to create a constructor, and there is no destructor in X++. Automatically it is taken care by the compiler, the garbage collection, just like Java. So there is a constructor. We need to just create a constructor, and for that what we can do is we can also override new method. And now this is the constructor is there. And if we want, we can write the documentation, and it's best practice to write the documentation, but for the sake of this training I will just skip this one. And then I need to create a param method, and in order to create or construct the class, and for that we need to have a booking order table need to be passed, and that will be passed to the param method. So just go ahead with the after constructor, just write down the method, and the return type here will be the same table. And then it should be camel case, and same table name can go booking table, and the booking table or at the global level variable need to be passed here to make it optional. When you assign a value in a parameter, so it will make that parameter optional and not mandatory. So it will not be required to pass, but it will, for example, as a getter, it will return the current value. So that we need to just, if it is passed, so that will need to be carrying the value of booking table in this underscore booking table variable, and it will be assigned to the global variable in this way. And then we will return the booking table as a getter, and as a setter the value of underscore will be assigned to the this value, this global variable. So in this way this param method or getter setter has been set, and already the constructor is overridden, and that constructor need to be protected. Okay, so that only child classes will call this constructor. So, and we will also create a public constructor, and for public constructor what we need to do is just after this implicit I mean the protected constructor, we will make a public static method. And static method for the new programmers, static method when keyword is put before the method definition, it will not need any instance of that class, rather it can be directly called with scope resolution operator. So in this constructor we will just return the class type, and the name of constructor will be construct, and then we need to just pass this table need to be passed here, and then the body of constructor will be there, and in this body what we can do is we'll just declare the class here, and we can name it like table handler, and then in the table handler we need to initialize the class by using the implicit constructor or the built-in constructor, and in this one we'll just put the class name here, and then okay, this will be now initialized or instantiated, and now what we can do is passing. Okay, there is a spelling mistake, just let me. Okay, so the param method, the only param method exists is resort booking table type, booking table, sorry, and in this one I will just pass this parameter, and then I will return the instance, class instance, which has already been set for the parameter. So in this way I have implemented the custom constructor, and there is a built-in constructor which was overridden and made as a protected, so that it could be only called within that class or within the child classes. Okay, so now what we can do is we need to create a method on the table that basically returns the preceding class. The method need to be called as type, and we can just put okay, so we'll just open the booking table here, On the resort booking table, okay, there is some problem. Okay, you can just ignore this. And so this is basically the class behind that table, and here we need to implement. Just remove the documentation. And okay, so here we need to just booking table type, and this need to be the return type. And okay, this need to be a camel case, and this will return. Now the static method is now with the scope resolution operator. I can call the construct, and then I can pass, this means the current table, because I'm in the context of this class. So this means the this resort booking table, so it will be passed here. Just let me close the syncing of database, so that it should not take too much time before building. So basically we should note here that the standard pattern for the table handler classes should be that all the table event methods and other methods which we need to specialize can be moved to the table handler classes, and that is the best placement in order to make it separate table handling class. And so the methods or table event method should be placed in that handling class. uh, and then also we should also ensure that table events just like insert, update, and these should be overridden in the table. And similarly, delete, validate, field, validate, delete, validate, right. So to handle basically the insert and update method, we can write methods like inserting and inserted. So the basically for the table handler classes, the standard pattern is to basically move all the table events. Basically, table events should be overridden first of all. Like table events are insert, update, delete, or similarly validate field, or validate delete, or validate write. So those should be first of all overridden, and these should be moved back to the event handler class. So in order to handle the insert and update methods, we can write two methods that are called either side of a superclass, like inserting and inserted, before and after the super call. And and these are basically placeholder methods for insert, delete, or update in our table type class. So what we can do is simply I will show you. For example, this resort booking table type is we have already created now. And for example, I will write a method like public void inserting. So this is with blank body, and similarly public void inserted, again with blank body. And now once you go to the booking table, what we can do is override the insert method. Just let me know. I think it is already uh, okay. Now you can go to the insert, and now you can see here the super call is already there, which calls the parent class method. And here what we can do is this dot type dot inserting, which is now our handler class. And after super we can call like this type dot inserted. So the actually the method body is blank, but this pattern we need to follow in this way, so that all the logic is placed in the our handler class, table handler class. So in this way we can change it. And now what we can do is the fastest way is to copy the all the logic which we have written here, like validate field. This is event method, and also this one, and check can edit and can edit. Leave the init in the table method itself, and just copy and paste in our handler class. Okay, and also modified field, which is also event method, that I will also place in our handler class. Okay, so then we need to adjust the code, and now first to start with validate write. Okay, in the validate write, basically is valid is false, and it is returning from the super. And here we what we can do is just remove this line, and is valid is true by default, and this can check can edit. Okay, in this way, and similarly go to the modified field, and in the modified field field num, and basically customer account. So now you cannot call this basically, and we will be calling our this global buffer instead of this. So once I place it, okay, this one is also using this. Let me save it. If there is still error for the modified field, basically it is calling super, and I need to just remove this super, and field will be passed to switch, and okay, this also will replace booking table here. Let me check if there are still errors. Okay, validate is valid will be true here. I think all the errors have been have gone, and let me check the can edit, and in the can edit is valid true is written, otherwise is valid is false. Okay, now what we can do, already we have removed the check method, or check can edit or can edit. We have already removed, and exist and find is okay. And basically init from these initialize or default or copying method should always remain on the table level, and they can also call the type class, call methods on type class. And okay, now what we can do is just override the validate field method, so that okay, so the validate field is now overridden here. And what we can do is, in the same pattern like we have called here, we will what we can do, just copy this statement and place here in the variable, and make it equal, so that whatever from the parent method is the value is returning, it will be assigned to the return. And now what we can do is, for example, if return, it's better to put not return, rather is valid. That is more sensible name of a variable. So is valid, if is valid is true, then also go to the statement here, and is valid then will be assigned to this dot type dot validate field, and field to check will be passed here. Whatever was passed as a parameter will need to be passed to the type of that validate field, and in this way it is now connected. And similarly we can also write the validate write, override the validate write. Okay, now we are in validate write, and we can follow the same pattern. Just rename this to be is valid, and just copy this if statement and place it here, and instead just call validate write without parameter. And similarly validate delete. Let me check whether validate delete was implemented. Validate delete, and just call this method. Even if it is not implemented, we will just create a blank body here, and what we can do is pass a return type of true until if there is something which we can just check, and rename the method name validate delete. So in this way, validate delete will also be called from our table handler class. And now what about modified field? Modified field also need to be implemented. Just override the method. Okay, so it is now overridden and the super call is being called, and then this dot type modified field and pass the parameter. Okay, in this way it will be also called. Then within modified field init from cust table is being called. So this is it for now, and we will be just following up in the next session about form handler class. And thank you very much guys for following it up, and we'll see how these will be working. And basically this is the best placement in consistent being consistent to the existing logic. Like I have told you, sales table type or sales line type are the classes handling the common functionality, and then there are child classes inside that, because sales documents are of a different type. That can be a sales journal or a return type or a sales order. So that's why the common functionality is implemented in sales table type, and then there are child classes which will definitely being specialized, having different behaviors or different functionalities. So let's end this session, and we'll just start with the new session about form handler class. Thank you very much guys, take care, bye bye.